Jenna Ostrye is a leading contributor on Skool, the community building platform created by Sam Ovens and made popular by Alex Hermosi. She's number 6 on the Skool all-time leaderboard, and she runs her own very successful communities called Admins and Admins Mastermind, where she helps people make money on Skool in 90 days or less and then go full-time. I spoke with Jenna about the culture of Skool, the best strategies for beginners, and what to do if you're new to the platform and building your first Skool community. Oh yeah, and she does everything faceless. Jenna, I am super excited to be talking to you on this show. I've worked with you a lot, and I know that you are finding all kinds of really amazing success on Skool right now with your community admins. One thing I want to start by asking you is, has it always been this kind of success for you on Skool, or have there been times when you're just like, this not working, it's not going to work?
Well, thank you for having me, William. And to answer your question, I think most people will talk about like the beginnings of them being on Skool and they'll be like, I'm all in and I'm doing it this way. And then you notice that there's a shift, there's a pivot right around like a 3-month mark. And it's where you thought you were going to have the success with what you thought was going to do good on Skool. And then you get into Skool and you start really connecting with the culture. You're connecting with the audience that you've brought to Skool, the people that are willing to transition into a new platform. And you're still behaving in such a way that's not necessarily always community based. It's more, I call it like a blog post or social media talking to people rather than talking with people. And you get this point where you're like, "Well, am I gonna get this or am I not gonna get this?" And, for me, it was not always successful. But I also came from a background of working inside communities, and each platform is going to show up differently. So I think if a community was on Facebook, you can talk to people as if it's a social media platform, not super community based. I think it's still gonna be better when it is community based, but it will still work, but it's not gonna be the best. On Skool, that's not going to work for you. And I wanted to come to the platform, test things out. I've had communities before I started admins, and I tried doing, like, everything all in one community, and it just didn't work. When you come to Skool, you have all these dreams, you have all these hopes, and you see people succeeding, but you kind of have to figure out where you fit in and what the culture is before you just show up and provide
Mhm.
your own culture, because that's not gonna necessarily work.
That's really interesting, and that definitely resonates a lot with me, and I can see that happening. School to me feels like a really different type of, uh, I guess, social media experience. It's not really social media, but it's a different type of technology that I haven't really seen before, which is why I was so excited about it from the start. But it did take some time to really appreciate how community focused the platform actually is. Like, it's not just a talking point or something that they're striving to do. It's something that is like built into the tech itself. Um, I guess I'm wondering, like, from that perspective, how do you come to that uh, realization that you need to be more community focused on this platform? Like, how have you been seeing people come to those realizations? And, what are some of the problems that they run into when they're trying to make that shift?
That's a great question, and I think that I mean, with anything, we need to have the awareness to change, right? And there comes a point, in fact, this morning, this is interesting that this happened at the same time. I had a little bit of free time between calls, and I was going through all the communities that I'm in, and I was moving. When you go on Skool, you can, like, put it for your drop down and put it in different order. I was
Yeah.
putting all of the archived communities at the very bottom because I don't necessarily leave those. Those are still
Mhm.
good data points for me of what doesn't work. So I don't leave the ones that have been archived. There was so many that have been archived And
Mm,
there's a difference between the people that archived to start new and fresh and ones that just completely left the platform.
mm,
And I was thinking about this, and the awareness is I there's the type of person that's gonna be consistent and persistent. It takes I put inside my, paid community a whole thing about, um, it takes 3 months. You gotta give it a good 3-month shot of being consistently persistent, and you need to be the one showing up. It's not on your people in the beginning. You do wanna create that kind of, um, invitation. You wanna give the instruction on how to engage, because how are they gonna engage if they don't know what you want, you know? But those people just gave up. They went hardcore for maybe the first couple of days, waiting for other people to come and engage and do the same. But because they didn't get that right away, they weren't even communicative. Like, why would someone join your community if you're not gonna be engaged in it yourself? Why is it your community's responsibility to keep your community thriving when you're
right.
not doing it? Um, and I even funny enough, we like, about a week ago, someone decided to post a whole thing in my community, which was rating other people's communities, and it ended up not being a good thing, which, that happens when you run communities. You have to decide, like, what's good for your community and what's not. And they were saying I read my review, and they said it would like, my community would not survive without me.
Mm,
And at this like, while I want to be a good portion of the community, I shouldn't be the heart of the community. Like a good thriving community, I should not be the sole reason why it survives. But
mm,
most people are coming to the platform going, they're the guru. They're the one that we're going to be focused fully on. I'm going
mm,
to make sure that like they should be posting a good bit to make sure that people are still actively engaged and they have something to talk about. But they have like nothing on their calendar to even speak and get to know their people. They're not engaging with their people. So the ones that to make that shift back to like what you were talking about was they have to be aware that there is a problem and that it won't work the way they thought it was going to work. And the humility and the drive to ask for help. There is one problem that I have seen, and it's something that I'm trying to address. In fact, it was part of like what I my goals for the new year. Is I don't want since my community is about like helping community owners or community supportive roles, I do not want anybody to join my community and not make money within the first couple of months because that's what it is. It's you can make full-time money on Skool
mm,
and then sustainably scale. Like sustainably, not anyways, that's a whole nother subject. Um, I've seen so many people that have got to the point of the awareness that they need somebody to help them. And
mm,
then they go to communities that are not necessarily going to help them monetize. They might
mm,
say they will, but do they actually?
mm,
And I think that's because a lot of people don't really look at Skool in the proper way of community based. They look at it as a funnel replacement because you don't need a website to use a Skool. You don't need to have all the extra stuff. You don't need to have a newsletter. You don't need to do emails. You can, but you don't need to. And they come at it from a different perspective, and that ends up making it where it's like a growth period. You have to be willing to say, okay, and admit I was wrong. Now that I'm wrong, let me actually use my skills of observation of when I'm looking for a community, am I going to the communities where they make success for their people or they make success for themselves?
mm.
And that's
This
a
really
touchy subject.
this really resonates with me a lot because I know my first community, I was coming into it from the perspective of like, I'm going to make a course, I'm going to make something that I'm going to, sell for people and get clients in there, and I'm going to be teaching them things. And while all of that is great, I don't think I had nearly enough appreciation for the importance of the co-creation aspect of a school community, like really
Mhm.
understanding what the needs are of the people who are there and appreciating that the needs that they have might not even be the needs that thought they were going to be when you started the community. Um, but I guess I'm curious then about where is that kind of line for you in terms of like having a vision for a community and creating something with a really clear model that you want people to join in, and then allowing, community members to kind of control the direction of that space?
That's a good point. In fact, one of the members in my paid community, I love it. I get these looms from people and they're like, "Well, I had this idea, but I'm gonna run it past you because I thought it was fire, but I want you to tell me if it's not." And I will, and this is just part of coaching. Most of coaching is actually knowing how to ask the right question. It's kind of like podcasting. Like, how do you ask the right
Mm.
questions to draw out the information you need? And I decided that I knew this person, like the person that specifically comes and asks these questions to me, I know that they're observant enough to, if I ask the right questions, they will actually answer it for themselves because they already had the answers within them, but they needed to know what to do. So they brought up this subject of how there was a community owner that they really highly regarded in school and did a great job. But they ended up starting their community and letting it be mostly whatever the community needed, and I don't always agree with that. I think that will work for some people that already have plenty of knowledge and have already proven that they have plenty of knowledge. They already have done lots of, like, YouTube or Instagram. They're already putting lots of content out there. They've already raised themselves to a higher place where people know what they can ask or get out of the community owner because it's something that they're interested in. But that's not something that is fully relatable to just anybody because there's plenty of people that come on the platform and nobody knows them at all.
Right.
They don't have a social media presence yet. So to have somebody come into your community and be like, "Well, I'm going to create this with you." And they're like, "Create what?"
Mhm.
Um, it's like, "What do you wanna learn?" "What do you mean, what do I wanna learn? I came here because I thought you were gonna be teaching something." And
Right.
so, a lot of people will end up falling on their face and failing, thinking, "Well, this is how it worked for this one person." I'm
Right.
like, "Yeah, but you can't be Alex Hormozy." You know? Like, you're not starting off as him, where people
Right.
already know they could ask him about business, or you're not Sam, so you can't, like, talk about consulting or, those
Mhm.
people have already been established and they can come here and they can be like, "Well, what do you want from me? What have you been wanting to know from me?" But
So I gotta ask then, like, what about that model of just inviting your first three friends into your community or something like that? Like, that seems to be something that is often encouraged, is just to get your friends into the community first. Do you think that that's a mistake for new people?
you're asking the questions that I'm like, I have not been answering because I don't it's not what the people are saying to do. But I
Mm.
don't actually have a problem being in disagreement with even leadership. I've always been that way, my poor parents. But no, I don't I think that if you're gonna invite your 3 friends should have some sort of idea of what you're doing, but you
Mm.
need to give them a reason to be on the platform. Give them a reason, be like, "This is where we're gonna communicate, and we're just gonna, like, bounce ideas back and forth." So they should be your most supportive friends, the people that if you called at, like, 1 a.m. would answer you, be like, "Hey, are you okay?" If you're just inviting your friends, which are mostly I think people need to learn how to differentiate, like, friends and acquaintances, or your close friends from your friends, and they are going to come to the platform and be like, "This is empty. What is school? This is bull crap." And be like, "I can find you on Facebook. I can text you if I want. I'm not gonna show back up." So then that creates that weird dynamic, okay,
Mhm.
where your friends are no longer showing up. They're not the ones engaging. And, like, what are you gonna do? Be like, "Hey, can you come back into my school community and say something?" But they don't even like, are you even posting in there? So what I tell people is, like, if you're gonna invite your friends and you want them to be there, then you need to give them a reason to show up. Be like, "I'm gonna be putting out a video a day, and this is gonna be, like, my exclusive like, every single day, you get a daily live from me, and this is what it's gonna be about." And, like, it's a 1 or 2-minute thing, um, like a live video that you created in the moment and then just posted it. Not something you can batch content creation it, but, like, they're gonna notice if it's that, and so it's not really that enticing to your friends. Other people won't notice, but,
Right.
your friends will. So, I think that you have to give them a reason to be on the platform, otherwise you're going to run out of friends to invite.
Mm. This makes me wonder about, like, I know that your first community is often not your last community. I've learned that the hard way. Every time I make a new community, I'm like, this is going to be the most amazing community. You know, you get the new URL and you're like, you have a big vision. And oftentimes that community is a stepping stone to another community, to something that is more in line with what you need to do, or ideally like more in line with what people actually need so that you can start offering something that can get monetized down the road. But I'm wondering, like, with this idea of, maybe starting a community with a few friends, do you feel like there is that is like a good path for some new people to take, where they're just kind of creating an experimentation school just to learn about entrepreneurship and, really just see that as a stepping stone and not their final community?
So now I have to decide if I'm gonna answer based on the fact that someday I'd love to work for school, or if I'm gonna answer on, like, what I would tell my brother to do.
Mm.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give the answer that I wish everybody would just go ahead and be truthfully honest,
Mm.
about. You can get a 14-day trial to school. You can get 3 friends into school. In fact, you could get your parents, like, I don't even care. I'll tell my mom and dad, my brother, "Hey, join my school." So I'm not running out of my friends to join first if I was
Mm.
doing it that way. I didn't bring any network here, but, um, I would say you you get the people that come and you just join school games. You're gonna take that 14-day, like, you need to be prepared. This 14 days is like you are cramming information for a test, okay? You really try to understand what it is that they are trying to teach, and mostly from the beginning to the end with a grain of salt, because things are changing when it comes to the 1 days.
Yeah.
And things are changing. You'll notice, like, for a brand new person, sustainability is important. Like, you don't want to have churn. You want a community that people are going to want to be in, like, want to stay in. And I think school games in the past kind of did this thing where it was like encouraging people to get as many people as they could, but then they didn't deliver. And then they didn't like show up with their people and didn't make it something that people would want to be a part of or stay in. So um, go and cram as much information as you can and network. Like, now you really need to get in the comments. Don't be afraid to post. Don't be afraid to comment. Let people know that you are new, because what happens, ding, 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 all the people that know you're new, you're going to get a lot of DMs, people trying to help you, and just take everything in and start to really decide, who do you want to be your mentor? Who do you
Mm.
want to help you on your path of growing and learning the platform so that you can succeed?
Mm.
If you figured that out in 14 days, great. If not, then you can always stop and start again. There's too many people that continue to pay the 99 so that they can make that one. I'm going to make that one. I'm going to be the one that only has one school community. Like, okay,
Mhm.
cool story, bro. Just go ahead and cancel it. And that's not I know, like, I could not say that if I worked for school. But I would just really recommend that they find the mentors that they wanna be a part of,
Mhm.
go learn more from them, really figure out, like, you need to understand, why are you even here? What do you wanna do? What is your messaging? Like,
Mhm.
be okay to be wrong. It's something that I learned probably about 10 years ago, is fully embrace being okay if you're wrong,
Right.
because then you are willing to make more action. Because if you're scared of being wrong, you're going to take less action. And you can always start another 14-day trial. Guess what? You could start another 14-day trial and learn how the whole community system works when you're building it.
Right.
Ask more questions, get in the Skool community, ask more questions in the communities that you're in, explore, then decide, like, why do I even want to be here? What is it that I really like? What can I talk about all day long without running out of ideas of things to say?
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably come into this thinking it's like a lottery ticket or something like that,
Hmm.
you know? It's like, wow, there's this opportunity where I can start an online business in such an easy way. Like school really does make it easier than pretty much anywhere else that I've seen to start making money online. But, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a free ride. It doesn't mean that it's easy. It doesn't mean that you're going to get it on your first try. And maybe like seeing it more as an educational experience that you're investing in and a networking opportunity that you're investing in. I think that can go a long way, like especially for the first few months that you're exploring the platform.
I agree, and it's kind of funny. Um, you're not delaying any money by
Mm,
canceling that and still learning, because how long would you continue paying the 99 without making money while you're still having to learn this anyways? You know? Like, you're
mhm,
probably gonna spend more effort trying to make your one thing work that you didn't even like, some people, I've seen them make their communities, and the community is their name. And I'm
mm,
like, "Well, that's you're not probably gonna build a community based on your personal brand, like, not a
mm,
true community."
mm.
There are ways to use the platform to boost your personal brand, but it's still not community based because it's kinda weird. Could you imagine if we showed up, William, and hung out, like, every day just to talk about me?
That's really interesting actually, because I actually, like, recommended to somebody that they start a community under their personal brand because I thought, I look at all the other platforms and I see that a lot of the people who have experienced, uh, success in the
Mhm.
other social media platforms have stuck with their own, proper name because oftentimes switching names, switching branding all the time is where you start to lose traction, and so really having something solid like your name that you can attach to with a project can make it easier to do it for the long run. And maybe there is a place for that on Skool still in terms of offering services or something like that. But really because it's so much around community, I completely get what you're saying. Like having a space uh, that is under your name would be very hard for anybody else to feel like they can take ownership of.
Yeah, like, if I was to wear a shirt that said Sam Ovens, my
Mhm,
mom would be like, "Why do you have Sam Ovens on your shirt?" You
mhm,
know? It's like where I'm mostly like a fan. It's a fan base rather than a community base. And I
mhm,
think that it's service based, yes. There's so many things that you can do on the platform and make it work. Or if you're wanting to do something kind of like as a newsletter, because Skool has amazing SEO. Like I
mhm,
ranked within 24 hours in a small community. My post was on the first page of Google under Forbes
mhm,
within less than 24 hours because of how good their SEO is. But
mhm,
that's a public group, and nobody's going to feel comfortable really expressing themselves in a public group if you like what's the reason to join? What's the reason for them to talk openly and publicly not knowing who can see what's being said? But you can have a public group and have it more of as a newsletter where it's not community based, but it is to
mhm,
draw people in SEO wise and then bring them into your community that is private. And then you could have your personal brand be the newsletter and then your community that's tied with it. So it's technically free to paid. Is the paid would be how do you become like you becoming Sam Evans, you becoming the next Hormozy, and you get to share your journey and you get to share like what did you try that Alex has done?
I wanna go back a bit and talk about uh, networking on Skool, because
Mhm.
I know that you are one of the master networkers on the platform. Uh, I know that you've managed to find your way into some unique communities that probably not a lot of people are aware of that they exist. And that's one of the things that I love the most about Skool, if I'm being honest, is all of these tiny little niche communities that are they kind of feel like the after party at a party, you know? It's like somehow you find your way into these little spaces and you get to have conversations with really interesting people who are doing really amazing things. Uh, and it can really help to move you forward on the platform once you kind of learn how to be doing that kind of networking. So I'm curious, because you're so good at it, if you have any kind of like insights around that for people, like what would you suggest if somebody wants to really like integrate themselves within interesting circles within Skool?
I think part of that might I think most of what I do is very something anybody could do, okay? So
Mhm.
it's something somebody could take and model and do it themselves. But I also think it might be my superpower. And it's because I'm like ultra observant to the point that it's a pain sometimes. I'm like, "Oh man, why did I have to see that?" you know?
Mhm.
But I think that being ultra observant allows you to pick up on the subtle things that most people miss. And there is so much power in moments where people have missed out on being able to show up and make sure people feel, seen, heard, and remembered. Or showing up because you actually, I don't know, am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
fucking cuss.
Okay. Cool. Like to actually give a shit because how many times do we go on the community and the comments just are like, are you just commenting so you can get liked, And or are you commenting just to network? There's a whole the ultra observant side. Um I I have cracked down on a couple of people inside the Skool community, not out of like malicious way or anything, but it just something felt off. So I observed a little more. And yeah, something was off. Like one person
Mhm.
was using automation to put the first comment out there so that
Mhm.
they could be the first one there. And then I was like, for me, what I used to do is I would go in there and the people that didn't have comments, I would make sure I commented because
Mhm.
I would never want somebody to feel like they put themselves out there
Right.
and not get a response. That's such an icky feeling.
Mhm.
And so they would have one comment on there and it was like automated. And that automation meant that that person never got a real response.
Right.
So they reply back and it might not be their ideal client now. And so they don't follow up on all these like AI automated responses. And they're
Right.
like, hello, hello. Like I actually, and I was like, oh, I don't like that. So I made a big stink about that. And I was like, that's not cool.
Mhm.
Um, and then there's other people that don't do it that way. They actually comment themselves, but it still has that like lack of authenticity. It's
Mhm.
you just read it so that you could repeat what they said or reaffirm what they said rather than like being real. Like would that if I was in front of you and I said something, would that be what you really responded? So networking is like to successfully network, you need to read with purpose. You need to read and to understand and then be able to clearly communicate like your thoughts, your feelings. Don't let people don't be the one person that nobody knows what you stand for.
Mhm.
I have no problem letting people know what I stand for and what I don't stand for because like how do I trust you if I don't even know where you lie morally or ethically when it comes to being online?
Mhm.
Um And then if you're observant, you're going to start to notice and pick up on the people that you would want to hang out with. Make more of an effort to surround yourself with a network that you would want to be a part of. So be someone that you would want to network with and then network with people that you would want to be in your circle.
Right. And are there any, like, do you do this tactically? Like, there are, of course, gonna be people, in positions that might be able to help you more than others, like somebody who's very new. I know that you have a community that can help a lot of people who are new, so,
Mhm.
there might be some advantages to that as well, but I know a lot of people might be networking on School in a more kind of strategic way, trying to follow certain people and engage with, only, like, the chosen few. Like, what are your thoughts around that kind of selective engagement?
Haha. So, I'm gonna bring up something that I've been thinking and saying for a bit, and it's that school is like school, right?
Mhm.
There's gonna be the people that are the popular crowd. So, like, in regular school with the CH, it might be, like, your jocks, your cheerleaders, well, then over there's the people that are in the math club, and there's the people that play chess, and I think that they all serve a purpose, and it's like, in the CH school, they might not be the nicest. Like, in movies, it's portrayed that the jocks and the cheerleaders are kinda like, "Eh." You know? And I'm not saying that the popular kids on School with a K are like, "Eh." In fact, they're actually the more very happy and more welcoming and more very like, "Let's make sure that you get where you wanna be." They're very popular because they are very personable.
Mhm.
They win at certain things because they are very personable.
Mm.
That doesn't mean that it's gonna translate to you. I would much rather be associated with the people that are gonna show up and their mission is to make meaningful impact. And so that's how I network. Like, I love hanging out with the popular people on School because they are just a joy to spend time with.
Mhm.
Would I recommend them? That is the answer that I always have a hard time actually fully admitting. But
Mm.
some of them, yes, some of them, no. And it hurts to say that for me because They they are so passionate about being around people, and I think that they are gonna be as like, we can see kind of like how where school's direction is going to be meeting up with people and stuff. They are gonna be so good at that. If you wanna learn how to meet up with people, those are the people to go follow.
Mm.
Don't follow me, I'm faceless. Like, like, I can tell you how to have a good meetup, but those are the people that they're gonna shine really on, like, how to get people to actually be willing to meet up together in person, and that they're gonna be amazing at that. If they're trying to help you monetize online, I don't know that that's gonna happen
Mm.
for you, unless you're willing to really observe their actions and do the
Mhm.
same things that they do.
I wanna double down on that because I think that that is a really important subject, as when we're getting into the online course creation space, I think it is so important to have mentors because, obviously we can't reinvent the wheel. It takes a long time to learn this stuff. So we have to know who are the people that we should be learning from. And uh, I think it can be extremely tempting to learn from the popular kids because they're the ones that we see and they have these approachable personas.
Mhm.
I mean, Hermosi's a great example. He's also happens to be a really good person to learn from. But that's not always the case. Sometimes people might have these more the jock kind of personalities that you'd want to gravitate to, but they might not be able to necessarily teach you how to make a dollar online in the way that maybe one of the people from the chess club can. So, yeah, I'm curious to hear more about that. Like, how do you navigate that as somebody who's new on School? How do you figure out if you don't know who to follow? Like, how do you figure that out?
I would say go see how they show up in their free community.
Mhm.
Um, and does something like people are very smart, okay? But they can get wrapped up into the hype. When you to navigate this as a new person, you have to be coming from an outside perspective. rather than jumping in and getting super excited about the possibilities. Because here's the thing, I love to dream. I love like, I even tell everybody we did a question in our community. I was like, "What would happen if you won the 1,000,000,000 lotto that just is about to hit?" You know? And we did that, and that was fun. But I don't, like, go, "Hey, everybody go buy a ticket and like, you are gonna win," you know? I want people to navigate this as an outside perspective. What would I want if money were no object? And then, like, what would I do to get there? Same thing when you're here. What would I do if I knew I could succeed on school? And then what would it take to get there? Is this person going to help me get there? Well, what would you look at? What are what are the success stories that they have? A lot of them might have success stories, but sometimes the success story, you can take it with a grain of salt because they will tell you what helps them really like get there. Like what is it that what is it that they did? And they'll reveal it within the podcast episode they're
Mm.
um, in the posts that they've made, and go, "Is this something that I could actually duplicate? Like, I could see this and I could create the same thing. If not, then don't do it." And it's hard because, like, when I think about it, like, when I say this answer, I'm like, "Does this harm me when I answer these, or does this help others?" And I'm always willing
Mhm.
to put myself under the bus if it was willing to save the crowd of people, you know?
Mm.
And I would say choose who's going to make you the most based off of where you currently think you are. And what I mean by that is if you're looking at some people that are making a lot of money, do you think you're going to actually get access to the one that teaches? Is that person actually going to help you? Or are you going to have to be learning from the people that they've taught? Or are you going to be given, like, a course or, a classroom, whatever you wanna call it? Like, are you gonna be learning from that mostly? Or are you gonna be learning from being like, you have to be accountable for your stuff? Like, what are their criteria of, like, who's this for and who's this not for? Are you in the like, why I mentioned the free community is, like, are you even able to get a win from their free community?
Right.
Because if you can't get a win from their free community, then how likely are you going to get a win from their paid community when it's probably somewhat similar? You just might see more of them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that, that kind of decision when you're new is it's tough to get through that. If you find a bad mentor or somebody that gives you bad advice from the start, it can be a major hurdle to overcome. It can really cost you a lot of time and money. And yeah, being wise about observing these people, like the people that you're relating with. And I think your advice is great about the free community. Like, what are they willing to give for free, and how helpful is the stuff that they're giving for free? I think that that's a good and great indicator of a way to start.
And how involved are they in their free?
Hmm.
Because there's some communities where it's even paid and they're not very involved in their paid. So I think that it's it's a balance, and I want to hear more people talking about how they made their first dollar in the testimonial versus the people that made it big. And I
Mm.
think I haven't done a full study on this. I need to sometime take time to really look at it. But what I hear them good about of the ones that I wouldn't necessarily recommend to a beginner is the ones that preach the most on the like the highest success.
Mm.
Because to get a high success, you have to be really overcoming. Like there's got to be several things that you have done that normal people don't do. And whether that's like putting money into ads, right? Putting more money into their coaching. Like maybe they're not telling you that they paid 10K for their coaching.
Right.
Maybe they're willing to relocate completely and put themselves in situations where they're around people that have money that can pay them so that they can have that high success.
Mm.
maybe they've done such a good job at being super personal that everybody is going to support them when they run for school games.
Right.
What is the things why did they get successful truly? Not just what they're saying, but be observant enough to actually look at why did they actually get the success. And if there was more people that were saying, "Hey, I helped them make their first sale." That's not a huge guarantee. That's not like, "Oh, you're gonna make 10K a month." But if you can help more people, like that's part of my goal is like I want to have a list of 100 people that I help make their first sale in 2025.
Mhm.
More if possible, but I'm at least aiming for 100. Because if the mindset it takes to actually even get your first sale is the hurdle that most people will have, and this is like a very big thing for most people, like you need to understand this, that you cannot sell the mindset stuff and actually make money. Like if I was selling, "Hey, I'm going to help with the money mindset stuff of being a
Right.
school owner," that's not going to get people to say yes. But I do know that I'm gonna have to overcome that, and that's just part of the benefit of what they really came for. They came for to go full-time with school. If
Right.
you wanna go full-time with school, this is what you believe it's gonna be about, but I know that I'm gonna be spending a good majority of my time going, "Hey, by the way, if you don't pitch yourself, I'm going to message you and be like, 'Why didn't you pitch yourself?'"
Right. So would you say then that for a beginner who's like trying to make money on school, that um, their best plan would be to find coaches or communities that are really focused on getting that early win and that they have results from people who are beginners? Like, should beginners be going for beginner products?
I think that, yes, they should. I'm looking at it this way, and I'm like, most of the people out there that are not even helping or being willing to focus on beginners are not willing to put in the effort that it takes to work with a beginner.
Mhm.
Just to be very honest.
Right.
Um, they will say, I want to go ahead and help with intermediate people, or I want to help with people that have money already." Like, yeah, you should probably try to aim for helping people with having money. So that's
Right.
why, like, your free group should, if you're working for beginners, your free group should get them enough money so that they can get more help from you, or they can continue to repeat it until they can.
Right.
And then your paid community should help them scale from there. Okay.
Right.
If they have the money and they want to go ahead and get to the paid, then that's perfect. Those are the ones that you're going to have ascend. Those are the communities that I would recommend, the ones that don't have those big fluffy promises
Hmm.
that you even are questioning. Like, that's a dream, and you're like, "Oh, okay," because you actually have to believe you can get there to even get there.
Right.
If you don't believe that
Mhm.
you can do it, then there's no way that this is gonna happen.
Do you see a lot of communities that are focused on these early wins? I know that like the school games itself, even though the school games is focused on the big win, they also have the kind of micro win built in where it's like get your first members, make your first dollar online.
Mhm.
Do you see a lot of school communities that are really focused on a clear, tangible early win, or are they pretty rare to find?
I do believe that it's hard to find somebody that's actually willing to focus on beginners, only because it's so much easier for them to be monetized online if they go after people that have money.
Mm.
And, there's 2 types of, like, the 3 things where it's, like, health, wealth, and,
Relationships.
relationships? Yeah.
Mhm.
Health, wealth, and relationships, and then there's also, like, you have Hormozy saying, "Go after people that have money and
Mhm.
sell them first, and then you can come back and decide if you wanna help, like, people that are at the beginning."
Mhm.
I could have made a lot more money on this platform if I would have gone after the people that had lots of money. In fact,
Mm.
I had a lot of offers for that, but that wasn't in alignment with the promise that I had made myself. Because I'm used to making, like, this last client, it was like 10K a month, you know? I'm used to making good amounts of money helping people do what I'm teaching now. Like, it's still the same thing. In fact, I told all my my community that you're basically when you join my community, you get to experience what it's like for me to growth operate you. But, yeah, I don't think that it's something that is normal because most people are being told to go after people that have the money, and I think that people get it mistaken actually. When they're talking about, like, people that have the money, it's people that have money enough money to spend, like, $99 on a membership
Mhm.
and it not be like, "I'm paying 99 and it's gonna make or break me." You know? It's like people that it's not they're willing to invest some into their thing into what they're trying to build or what they're trying to accomplish from the community, and they're it's easy for them to say yes to that for about 6 months. There's a good amount of people that are like, "Okay, I'm gonna go after the people with money," so they totally ignore anybody that doesn't have any money,
Mhm.
or they're like, "Oh, you have a job? That's great." But they don't even pre-qualify the job. Like, that's why a lot of people are doing these, like, clarity calls that aren't actually clarity. It's more clarity for the owner on whether or not you're a good lead,
Right.
and, I don't like those. But yeah, I think that you'll find out pretty easily, especially if they have those calls available. You have to be good at saying no, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
If you get on these calls, you have to be able to say no. There's a person that I said no 9 times to,
Wow.
and I was like I allowed that to happen. Normally, I'm good at saying, like, a firm no for myself, but I wanted to know what it would be like for if one of my clients had to go through that.
Mhm.
I was like, 9 times is crazy.
That's persistence.
Yeah, and it's I have to I'm not gonna stop until they hang up on me. Like,
Mhm.
I don't accept no for an answer, and I understand that that's how some people work, I just don't do that myself.
Mhm.
I don't recommend it, and that's not beginner friendly. Because let me tell
Mhm.
you, if somebody's willing to do that, then they are trying to make you fit the parameters.
Right,
Well,
that's true.
they're listening to you to see how they can fit you into their parameters.
Mhm.
And then you have a bunch of people that are like join and they're still living on they're not even paying the monthly thing because they believe that person can do it for them anymore. They continue to pay it because they feel like at some point they're going to unlock this mystery of how to make money
Mhm.
online and they don't want to stop paying cuz then stop paying for that person's membership when they do so well means that they're giving up on their dream. And that's not really what it is. It's just that that person's not going to take you to your dream and I know I probably annoy some people that haven't made money online yet when I say this, but making money online isn't hard.
Mhm.
Like, if I wanted to go make $100 right now, I could literally message a couple of people and make $100 quickly.
Do you think it's not hard for everybody, or is it just not hard for some people?
It's not hard for everybody.
Mm.
And I'm willing to boldly say that because there's so many ways that you can make a dollar or you can make $100 online, and you're just putting parameters and limits on yourself. And
So what
you're
is the block then? Like, what is that block that's making it so hard for all of the humans on Earth to do this if it's so easy?
one is desperation.
Mm.
Most people, by the time people get to my community, they've gone through all these other ones and they've gotten to this point of like, it's make it or break it for me.
Mhm.
And I think that's part of why I'm so like, even if it's not popular and even if it's something that people don't want to hear, I don't mind saying the hard stuff because I'm the one that's been helping the people get past these moments of desperation. And the other mental block is knowing that they're worth something. Like your time is worth something. In
Mm.
fact, Alex Hormozy was saying this and he was like, if you need to get people to say yes to something, tell them that you'll give them 3 hours. Like we'll do something over the next 3 days and I'll give you an hour a day and people will know that that's worth it. But you won't believe it's worth it, and then you won't sell it or you won't pitch it, and the people won't show up to it, and then you're proving to yourself that your time wasn't worth it because there was so many no-shows. It's like, no, your time ultimately is worth it. You could even if you're gonna value it so low as minimum wage, even the state, like, the country will not allow you to get paid less than a certain amount. So, no matter what, your time is valuable.
Mm.
Imagine how much a dying person would pay for an hour.
Yeah, time is the most I mean, it's the cliche, but time is the most valuable asset that we have, and so trading our time to anybody, we have to realize how precious it is and how it's truly, like, the non-renewable resource, like, that's the one thing that we will never, ever, ever get more of.
Yeah, and that's why I still going back to, I don't recommend you starting a community and waiting for people to come tell you what they want from you,
Mm,
because now you've wasted their time. And
right.
now you have become a a person that they don't trust because you wasted their time.
Alright, so let's take a 180 here. Who is it that you feel is not wasting people's time on Skool? And let's go even further and say, who are the people that are making the best uses of people's time on Skool? Who are the people that are the most inspiring for you on Skool right now? Do you feel like giving any shout outs or talking about any kind of projects or communities or things that you're seeing popping right now?
I really so, like, I'm more school community focused, so that's the people that I tend to really watch, and I think this is where I'm like, I hope people don't realize, like, don't think I'm like a creepy fan at this point. But no, I really, really appreciate Calvin Hollywood because it's a breath of fresh air.
Mhm,
It's like, finally, someone who gets it.
mhm,
And it's so inspiring to see somebody that, like, and he can go even further than I would could ever go because he doesn't have a problem being on camera, and he doesn't have a problem, like, showing up. And he is so bold in just saying it, just saying something's not good or saying something is good.
mhm.
And that's what people need to understand, that that is part of where community is healthy, is
Right,
being able to state what is and what isn't for you.
right.
I really appreciate him. I've started to try to bring up the fact that, um and this is just about getting people's stories out. So, like, for Calvin Hollywood, it would be, like, how to create a community that's actually a community, that's
Mhm,
actually a better community to help people find their place of belonging. So, if you're looking to learn community leadership and succeed on this platform, then you should probably go check out his free stuff and then consider his paid stuff. Um, and then Matthew Thompson is so good about getting people's stories out. Now, it doesn't mean
mhm,
that you're going to learn a lot about, like, making money, or it's not about, like, the people that he talks to are gonna be the ones that you should follow. It's the fact of go watch Matthew Thompson for
mm,
how he asks questions,
mm,
because Matthew Thompson can ask a question that will draw more out, and that's what you should be doing with your community. You should be the person that's like a little podcast host within your community to find out more about the people and then retain that information, because then you're going to give people a chance to speak about themselves, speak about their experiences, bring it all together in one beautiful place. And they don't get that elsewhere. Like, most people, you just drive down the street, you go somewhere, and nobody really cares.
mhm,
So you wanna be the kind of person where Matthew makes you feel like you're cared for by
mhm.
asking the right questions, so you should model him within your community. Um, go through, and this is one of my favorite things to do. Should I announce something that we did as a funny thing in our group?
Yeah. Yeah, you should. I don't know what it is, but you should announce it.
Alright, so maybe I'll get in trouble, I don't know. Uh, Probably not, because Sam told me it was cool. Like, he just, like, ha-ha'd it.
Mm,
But in the community I had before this, we were on a call, and I was like, "Oh man, Sam's so close to level 9 in school community." And I was like, "Wait a minute. Why don't we go back through and go look at all of his posts?" So what
mhm.
we did was we did like a school history
Okay.
thing. And so we clicked on Sam's profile and we went back and we looked at all of it. And so we were like reading all of his comments and reading all of his posts, and we were liking him, boosting him up to level 9 because
Oh, nice.
YOLO, you know, like who's the one person we won't get in trouble for engagement farming?
That's awesome.
Don't engagement farm. This is the disclaimer. Don't do this for other people. It was
Only with
funny, Sam, like,
Mm.
and then we would be like, it was a fun like bonding moment as a community because we were like giggling, like, oh no, he's online. Can you see this happening? I don't know. And you got to see the heart of what it was like to see Skool created. So it was really, really cool. You get to see how he interacts and like how much time and effort. And I think that's something any community owner should go do is go back and read all of Sam's posts because he's not as active or commenting as much anymore because there's so many people and then it's like it's a lot of work. But at the beginning, you're very, very in it. You're very much a part of the beginning of the community itself.
Mhm.
So he was giving updates. He was talking to people. He was like, you want this, but why? Like, tell me why you want this.
Yeah.
Then you get to see the changes made, or you get to see changes not made. And he gave a lot of his self within the comments. And you'll notice that too. You can go back and read different comments from admins before they were admins and then after they're admins.
Mhm.
Just become like a spy of Skool. See how much you can find out about Skool, and you'll find
Yeah.
like Valentine's Day they did a live with their people, and it was Nick and Sid and Sam. And there's like this cute photo. Maybe you can pop it up. That would be really cool. I'll send it to you after this. And it was just like so sweet and wholesome. And that is what Skool is. You're never gonna find that in, like, Mark Zuckerberg, you know? Like, that's not his story, but the story of Skool really comes from the fact that these people care, and they are so very careful
Yeah.
and thoughtful in what they allow and what they don't allow. So, learning from those kind of people, that's what I would recommend.
I love that. I've looked back at some of Sam's old posts too, and I can see what you're saying. And I think that, yeah, if you're looking at like how can you build a community, how can you, build something within Skool, there's going to be no better way than looking at, how is Sam doing it in the early days when he's, trying to get engagement happening, trying to understand what people want. Uh, yeah, that's a really awesome piece of Skool history that's captured there.
One other person I have to mention, and I'm saying the no-brainers, so and sometimes there's a reason for that.
Mhm.
But, Andrew Kirby is very, very thoughtful in what he's going to say. Now, I think that his is gonna be mostly more of, like, the Hormozy way and business way, and this is why you wanna go learn from Calvin Hollywood, but Andrew is really about, like, the heart too. Like, he's very, like, "Come on, let's do something that's meaningful." And I think that's what you see from most people in Skool. Is you find the people that are doing this meaningfully rather than superficially or just monetized wise.
Right.
Like, and lots of people can put feelings into what they're doing. Lots of people can put emotion into what they're doing. But are they taking the time to really think meaningful thoughts before they put stuff out there? And there's still a chance for, like, fun because there's Jiff, there was Jester, there was all these kinds of fun things, but those are bonding moments, you know? And, I think more people would do well if they were watching the people that really spend time to make it clear what they're about.
What are some of the things that you're the most excited about in terms of the Skool platform and your own little world within it?
Ooh, here's one thing that I'm excited about that's gonna be coming up, and it's the fact that people are gonna be able to be rewarded when it comes to referring the communities that they love. So that's going to make monetization so much easier and people are going to learn. You're going to have like there's the downside of affiliates, okay? where people are just like, join this, join that, join this. And it's not like, oh, that's great, you know? But the ones that are gonna succeed and actually be leaders and affiliates are because they're really recommending communities that make a difference, that make
Right.
a change,
Mm,
that provide on the promise. And that's what I'm excited about because school games should be changing to be more retention based, more long-term longevity, sustainability, and you can be rewarded by being observant enough to make a recommendation, understand people's problems, and which community is going to be their solution. So I am
right.
excited about the it being more heartfelt.
Right. Yeah. I love that. And I think, yeah, there's going to be a lot of really just stronger bonds that are going to form between people now that they're that kind of incentive to communicate about other people's offers is going to be there. It's, yeah, like you said, there's going to be the kind of sharing of affiliate links just for the sake of trying to earn money, but it's probably going to allow a lot of really awesome, maybe even more niche communities to kind of rise to the surface. That's going to be great.
Definitely. And on top of that, there's more incentive for them to be active in the community itself. Like,
Yeah.
if you really want your affiliates to stick, then you're going to need to be active and participating in it as well because you're their friend.
Right. Cool. Well, Jenna, it's been a real pleasure talking with you. I always love our conversations, and you are one of the people who I have great respect for on Skool because you are really doing it the right way, I think. I know that I've definitely benefited personally from working with you and from all of our conversations, and it's a lot of fun too. And that's one thing that I really like. So if people want to find out more about admins and about what you're doing, like what is the best way for them to learn about your community and what you do?
Well, I think if anybody's wanting to know how to build a better community, whether you're an owner or you're a supportive role, then I would love to have you in admins. That's what I'm about. And I'm okay growing slow, but that's because I want the right people to be in there. And inside my community, you'll understand the supportive roles. There's moments where you can ask questions and you can also learn how to support your members and knowing how to use the platform. And that's just admins. It's such a simple, like one word. And my paid communities, masterminds, but that is like if you're really ready to do something on the platform. If you're not ready yet, just like I said from the get go, if you're beginning, let's go ahead and go in the learning phase. Find time when you can go listen to what's I've already put out there, or you can like ask questions because that's what the community is for, and then consider it. Like I only want people that are really ready to build a community to really join the paid stuff. But um, and you can find me in Skool community. I'm in there all the time.
Of course, number 7 on the leaderboard, and you'll soon be passing Ted Carr. I think we'll see how that goes.
Yes, it's kind of a goal, but then
Cool.
who knows? He eats a lot of fruit. He might have more energy.
You never know. Ted is an amazing being. We'll see what happens.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Jenna.
Thank you.